Hello and welcome to this week's special presentation. My name is Jim Penna. I'm the Manager of Retirement Services here at VectorVest, and I'm very happy to be hosting this week's topic titled Unleashing the Power of a VectorVest Watchlist. Now, my goal in this presentation is to show you two types of watch lists that will benefit you. The first will be building a watch list of your stocks, in other words, your current holdings. And the second will be to build a master watch list of stocks that you are interested in owning, depending, of course, on the objective of your portfolio. So let's start with the power of building a watch list of your stocks. Now, if you're new to VectorVest, building this watch list provides the fastest, easiest way to learn the VectorVest system and our method of stock analysis. If you are not new to VectorVest, I am hopeful that this presentation will be a great review for you. The next advantage of building a watch list of your stocks is it takes the guesswork out of managing your portfolio, again, using that system of stock analysis. And finally, it will save you hours and hours of valuable time. Because when you go into the VectorVest watch list and you build that watch list of your stocks, you're going to be able to use the rank analysis. All watch lists are ranked by the VST vector in our program. That's the value, safety, and timing vector. We know that the best stocks are at the top of the list based on that VST vector, with the worst stocks being at the bottom of the list. We want you to favor buying stocks from the top of each list or holding on to those stocks if you already own them, and then weed out the stocks off the bottom of the list, but you could do that at a comfortable pace, being able to analyze these without having to make major decisions all at once. But the information in front of you just makes it a lot easier to organize, understand the value of each stock, and what to do with it in your portfolio. So what I want to do is jump into the program and go into a watch list and illustrate this for you. So here in the VectorVest program, I'm going to go up to the main toolbar and I'm going to choose the Viewers tab. And when I choose the Viewers tab, it does give us a lot of options here on the left-hand side. There are different folders, cherry picking, dividend payers, etc. I've come down to my watch lists, and when I click there, you'll see what I've done is created a watch list here of my stocks. I've put together a portfolio of stocks that most of which we are familiar with, and I want to walk through the process of analyzing these. Now, before I do that, again, for those who may be new, here's how you build this watch list, how you prepare the watch list. I click on the folder that I want to add my watch list to. I come up here to where it says new watch list and I click the drop down area. Now here I can create a new group, or in other words a new folder, and name it whatever I want to. Okay, you can do that here. For now I'm just going to use my watch list, which you should have in there, but I'm going to click that down and I'm going to choose new watch list. Now when I create that, it comes here and I can type in, and what I did before just earlier today was type my stocks, and you hit, well, here I'll have to put a 1 in and I'll add that there. So when I open that, you now see that I have a new watch list that's empty and I can go in and add my stocks to. Okay, so that's how you create the watch list. For now, I'm going to delete that one, and I've already created this watch list here. So I'm going to go my watch list and to my stocks. This is a theoretical portfolio of stocks that I already own. So how would I use the VectorVest watch list and the VectorVest power of these indicators in this rank analysis to manage my watch list and my portfolio? Well, again, as I stated, the VST is the core ranking here. That's our core indicator. The top VST stocks come to the top, and it's the ones at the bottom that I have to start to weed out and to manage my portfolio. And it's here we can also sort. Now the default sort is VST, but we can sort by any of the core indicators and rank analysis of the VectorVest program. We'll start with relative value. I'm looking at relative value on these stocks, and a handful of them have a couple good relative value numbers on that 0 to 2 scale. If I go ahead and choose relative value, which is the long-term price appreciation potential of the stock, looking at a 1 to 3 year period and comparing it to owning AAA corporate bonds. On that 0 to 2 scale, it tells us, for example, that Exxon, we can expect a 58% greater return than that from a AAA corporate bond. So that tells me that Exxon, for for that purpose it would be a good stock to own. Relative safety is right at 1. So on that 0 to 2 scale, it's right on the cusp there, so not too bad. Relative timing at 1.10, that's our technical indicator. Roll those indicators together into one core indicator called the VST, and that brings ExxonMobil to 1.23. And it happens to be not only the highest RV stock, but it is also, of this list of stocks that I theoretically own, the highest ranked VST stock. Then we have comfort index, right? That's the price growth persistence is how we define it in the VectorVest program at 1.47. That's very good. It's excellent on the 0 to 2 scale, actually. So ExxonMobil, in my portfolio, as I begin to analyze these stocks and manage my portfolio, is one that I would certainly right now keep in my portfolio. Especially, we have the earnings growth rate is tremendous, and it just so happens that it pays a very strong dividend as well, a nice dividend yield, a earnings growth rate, and a dividend growth rate that are both double digits, a much larger growth rate on earnings over dividends. So we like to see that. We'd like to see the growth rate greater than that dividend yield in the stocks that we own for a for an income-minded portfolio. So a great stock. Now, let's go the other way. Guardant Health is at the bottom, GH. Relative value, safety, and timing all below 1, meaning that they're unfavorable across the board here on our fundamentals and technical indicators. VST all the way down at 0.36, comfort index down here, a negative earnings growth rate, stock doesn't pay a dividend. Not only that, it's a sell rating in our program. So when we talk about weeding your portfolio and saving all that valuable time of deciding, should I own the stock, should I not own the stock? Listen, if there's something in your portfolio and there's a specific reason why you own it, even with these numbers, that's going to be up to you to decide whether to hold on to it or not. But if you have a stock that looks like this, I would strongly encourage you to think about replacing it with a much better, much higher quality stock, again, depending on the objective of your portfolio. So in this case, Guardant Health or GH would be one of those stocks that you would certainly consider weeding from your portfolio, right? We call it weeding the garden. Now, not only do we have all this information here, I can sort it by recommendation if I want to. I could bring the sell rated stocks right to the top. I can order them by all the buy rated stocks at the top. I have my hold rated and then sell rated. The other powerful tool that we can use here is when you look at your overall portfolio, you can come down here on the lower part of the page and you can see the watch list average. So it gives you all of those important rank analysis numbers on the average of your entire portfolio. So you can get a sense of whether your portfolio itself is doing what you want it to do, what your objective is. Okay, and really this portfolio, even though I just put in some very well-known names here, a couple that might not be so, but you've got a portfolio here that quite frankly at this stage can look a little better, right? Relative value is below 1, relative safety and relative timing all below 1. The average VST of this portfolio is below 1. Now getting rid of some of these very low VST numbers, of course, would raise that. I'll illustrate that in a moment. So you can begin to change the outlook on this portfolio as you move through. For instance, let's say I was to remove MRTX from the portfolio based on the rank analysis that we use. For now, I'm just going to hit delete the item and it's going to leave me with 9 positions now. But look what happens to our average within our portfolio. Right, I can now come in and see relative value still below 1, relative safety and timing both ticked up, the VST ticked up, and everything actually looks a little bit better now that that stock is out of there. And the idea would be when the market trend, of course we've got to heed the color guard and purchase the stocks at the right time. If I were looking to replace a stock, we do have a red light in the price column, and VectorVest does not advocate buying any stocks at this time. But for the sake of illustration, if I were looking to replace the stock, okay, one thing I could do is come to the Viewers tab, and I could go to the Stock Viewer and Just going to pick the currently top ranked VST stock, which happens to be ACLS currently as we look at it. So ACLS, if I go back to my watch list and I decide that I replace that stock with ACLS in my portfolio, let's take a look at the difference in the numbers that come up. ACLS, I simply type it in and add that. ACLS comes, I'm going to auto fit my column so we can see them. ACLS comes to the top of the list, and what we see now is all of our indicators: relative value, safety, timing above 1, CI has ticked up, the VST, the average VST, the growth rate, all of our numbers ticked higher because we simply took out a stock that wasn't performing. I like to use the old baseball analogy. If you've got on your field, maybe your second baseman is making 2 errors a game and he's striking out 3 or 4 times a game, right? You wouldn't leave him on the field because you need better players on the field. It's the same idea in your watch list or in your portfolio. So I'm going to remove the players or the stocks that are not performing, and I'm going to replace them with better performing stocks. So you can see the effect, and if I were to continue to do that, you can finally bring these numbers up to a very strong place. The other great functionality of the watch list is when I come down here to the watch list average, I can right click along that row and I could view the graph of my portfolio, and I can see the performance with relative timing down below. We see recently with the market having its move to the upside, the overall performance of this portfolio has increased. We see that movement to the upside. Again, this is the average of those 10 stocks that we have in the portfolio. So it's another great way to go back in time and see how that portfolio performed and how you can improve it. So that's another great function, being able to go on and see that performance there. What I'd like to do next is come over here to the watch list, and as I showed, if I highlight the group and I click the drop down area, I can create a new watch list. Okay, let's go ahead and create another watch list, and I'm going to show you now how to build a watch list of stocks you are interested in owning. Okay, stocks that you may want to add to your portfolio. So I'm just going to call it, potential new stocks. You could put any comments you'd like in here. You can name it whatever you'd like, but I'm going to add that watch list. So it is blank right now, but I'm going to walk through the steps to show you how to build it. I'm going to go into the Unisearch tool. Now, as I'm going to put my retirement-minded investing hat as manager of retirement services on, and I'm going to go ahead and look for good quality dividend stocks. Let's just say, for the sake of example, I want to build a portfolio of good quality dividend growth stocks. How could I begin to do that? Well, I can pick any one search and build that portfolio, but what I want to do is illustrate how to build what we call a master portfolio, where you can look through the stocks. It's very easy to look at the graphs. I'll show you that in a moment, but let's start here. One of my favorite dividend searches is blue chip dividend payers. I'm going to go ahead and tag the top stock, hold my shift key down, and tag the top 10 stocks. I'm then going to right click on my mouse, and it's going to bring up the menu for me, and my choice is going to be to add to watch list. When I click there, because I've opened that new watch list, the system knows what I'm looking to do. It has the top 10 stocks. All I have to do is hit OK. Now we'll go back to it, but those stocks are now in my watch list. Let's go add a couple of more good quality dividend paying stock searches that I like a lot, and we'll go ahead and build that master watch list. The next folder that I would go to is the conservative folder, and another one of my very favorite searches in the program is called Pale Blue Chips when it comes to dividend portfolios. It's a great search that uses all of the dividend indicators we have: dividend safety, growth, and yield, and it puts a parameter on each one with a relative safety of greater than 1.25. So it's just a really good search finding these quality stocks. I'll tag the top one, hold my shift key down, and let's send those to the watch list. Once again, the system knows what watch list I'm in, and it will add those 10 stocks. I'm going to come back down to the retirement folder. That's where blue chip dividend payers is, and there's another great search called high VST plus YSG stocks. So it takes stocks that meet the parameters here and sorts them with a combination of the highest VST plus YSG. Okay. Again, this is just an illustration using a dividend growth portfolio. Whatever your objective in your portfolio would be, maybe it's growth stocks, maybe it's to short stocks. It could be any objective that you might have. I'm just using dividend stocks to help make my point here. So I'm going to right click again. I tagged my stocks. I'll add these to the watch list and click OK. So you get the idea. There are several other searches I could use. There are some other good quality dividend searches, but for now I want to go back to the Viewers tab. Okay, and it brings us right to our watch list. 25 stocks made it onto our watch list. I did 3 searches with the top 10, and the reason there's 25 is because there was some overlap. So 5 of the stocks were on more than one search, so we had some overlap. But now I've got a great master watch list of stocks that if I'm looking to build a quality dividend portfolio, right, I could just use any one of those other searches, but now I've got a little bit of a bigger roster to choose from. And as I said earlier, the default sort is to VST. I can sort them by relative safety or value, right? I can sort them by earnings growth rate. Okay, so for instance, just to give you an example, if I'm building a dividend portfolio, what I would certainly be doing is coming over here to find some important numbers. And those numbers for me are earnings growth rate. When it comes to quality dividend stocks, what I look for is earnings growth rate, because what good is a dividend if a company can't continue to pay it, right? So I need that earnings growth rate to be strong, and then we look, of course, at 2 things, dividend safety and the dividend growth. We want companies that are continuing to grow their dividend year over year. Dividend safety is another important factor. It's the one indicator in the VectorVest program that's not 0 to 2, it's actually 0 to 99. And we say anything above 50 is favorable. So that's what we look for. So you can sort by earnings growth rate. Bring Cheniere Energy, LNG to the top, Valero, Exxon. Now you want to be careful. You don't want to overweight any one industry or sector, but you've got some great choices here. You can sort by dividend yield if you choose to. Okay. You don't want to just chase high yields, but we've got a good list of stocks here. So these 25 stocks are really good candidates, and then it's just a matter of cherry picking through these. Because I'm talking specifically to a retirement-minded investment portfolio, I did want to share, if you are using the Master Watchlist to build a portfolio of this, I want to share from Dr. DeLito's book, Stock Strategies and Common Sense, when he talks about growth and income stocks. And he wrote there, and this is, I think, very important, conservative investors usually prefer to achieve their target level of total return by combining earnings growth with dividend payout. Now, he says it's okay to do this, but don't take it too far. High yield without earnings growth is a loser's game. And that's why I use the searches I just showed you to build that master watch list. Don't make the mistake of just chasing higher yield if you're building a dividend portfolio. Dr. D talks about earnings growth rate of your stocks being at least double the dividend yield. Right? We have to have evidence that the company is going to be able to continue to pay and grow its dividend. So that's from Dr. DeLito's Stock Strategies and Common Sense that I just wanted to share with you. So now we have, again, the ability to see, and we come down to the average of these watch lists, relative value, safety, timing. The VST is all above 1, so that looks good. The earnings growth rate, and again, because we're looking at dividend stocks, we have the dividend yield, safety, and growth. These are all really good numbers, good quality stocks for you to go through. Now, if I were to sort them, say let's go back to VST and we'll sort them by VST. The other great thing here is if you can graph them all if you choose to, right at your fingertips. You have the ability to come here and look at a graph. You've got the buy, sell, or hold rating along the top. This is just the default VectorVest simple graph. Okay, or actually the VectorVest layout. This is the VectorVest simple graph showing earnings per share. The stop price there. You have the VectorVest layout is also shown. And listen, another great way to, especially for dividend paying stocks, I can come to the NPI graph. Right? You want a real good entry point for these stocks? Put on the near perfect indicator graph, and you can see uh, the beauty of that. Listen, you can do any technical analysis that you might decide to use, but the NPI or the near perfect indicator is another great way to know when to purchase these. So this is the power of the VectorVest watch list, all of the different things you can do for stocks that you either own or that you are considering owning in your portfolio. So unleashing the power of the VectorVest watch list, just a great way, especially if you're new to VectorVest, to understand our core indicators and use rank analysis, saving you tons of time trying to manage and taking that guesswork out. You can see right there in your watch list what stocks are performing and what stocks are not. Weed that portfolio. In other words, put the best players that you can on the field. And so I hope I was able to introduce to you in this presentation the power of the VectorVest watch list.